Welcome in. It's the recap show, Fox on West Virginia Mountaineers Sports, of the West Virginia Mountaineers defeating the Albany Great Danes 49-14 this past Saturday at Milan Pushkar Stadium in Morgantown, West Virginia. I know I'm a day late. Sorry for the wait on this parenting thing, y'all. It's pretty crazy, but I wanted to come here and still kind of share my thoughts. Did watch the game in totality from home, so want to have some thoughts from this game. I know everybody's kind of almost moved on and in anticipation of the backyard brawl, and trust me, I am too. I'm excited. I'm ready for it. I'll bring you a couple of videos this week in build up to the game that I am 99% sure I'm going to be able to attend at Acrisure Stadium this upcoming Saturday. So really excited for that. But just let's talk a little bit about this Albany game. And I feel as if you're watching this video, put yourself back in the place that you were come, 9 o'clock Saturday evening. I feel as if you fall into one of two camps. Camp one, you're very happy because of the offensive performance. Really a night and day performance from Penn State the week prior. I know comparing Albany and Penn State is probably like comparing, a college team versus a high school team. But at the same time, you're very happy with the way that Garrett Green led this offense and looked like the West Virginia offense of old. Even though it scored 7 fewer points than I predicted it would on the day, thought West Virginia could get to 56. You're very happy with that offensive performance, and I'll get more into that. But I feel as if you're like me, and I'm thinking this camp may be made up more than 3/4 of Mountaineer Nation. You're pissed because of West Virginia's defensive performance. And having really the benefit of an extra 24 hours to mull this one over, and now experiencing so many of these FCS games of my lifetime, I feel like judging these FCS games are such a challenge, especially in today's world of Gen Z players. And I'll break that down in just a second. On the one hand, where you could be defensive if you're the team or head coach Neil Brown or, the optimistic, full person. West Virginia covered what was, I found this out come game time, a 33.5 point spread. So if that's the spot where Vegas is saying that you should beat your opponent and you do so, what's there to complain about at the end of the day? If you look at the final score, you see it was a decisive West Virginia victory. Or you're on the other side of the coin and you're thinking that West Virginia gave up 300 yards passing on day to an FCS opponent. So it almost feels as if, you tied or, again, it's not that how you win or that you win. It's more so of how you win in these FCS opponents. And I just don't think that today's players think that way. I really don't. I just think that they think, especially in this world in which that they're now getting paid NIL money. So at the end of the day, they cash their paycheck. They go out on High Street. I'm sure that the senior leaders of this team and those who are trying to embark on a professional career and so many of the other things. And even those who aren't, I'm sure there are people who think of this as a job, these players as a job. This is what they get 12 months out of the year for 4 straight years and even earlier into their, high school youth careers that they've been training all of this time and preparing for it for these 12 fall Saturdays. And think of their all across those 3 hours. But it's what I think is a good segue into the keys. If you listen to the broadcast, and my goodness, Richard Ross and Barrett Brooks were kind of all over the place with their analysis as two commentators, and especially Barrett Brooks calling the Danes the Dukes for at least half the game. One of the things that they talked about, they showed a graphic that Neil Brown had like his 4 pillars of West Virginia football. One being discipline, one being straining, one being physical and fast or something like that, and the last one being smart. Well, I kind of feel as if discipline and smart are a little bit redundant or kind of one and the same. Really, their 5th tenet, or if you wanted to just take smart out of the equation, put it into disciplined, is focus. Is that I feel as if during this Neil Brown era that sometimes this team lacks focus. You can point back to the Houston game from last year, probably is example number A. And I think it ties in this game that if you look at the tenure of Neil Brown's teams, how many blowouts has West Virginia had? And I'm saying West Virginia defeated an opponent by multiple scores. Very few. For example, let me giving up the first touchdown. West Virginia goes up 21 points, and I know I could see it from the body language. I could tell this is when it almost felt as if like the scariness of an FBS opponent wore off for Albany in that moment. They decided to go a little bit more up tempo, wanting to push the ball down the field, and West Virginia relaxed. They got easy. They let Albany do whatever it is that they wanted to do, thinking, oh, we got a 3-score lead. That's okay, no problem. And the reason why that's like coming to my mind, like coming on, is that's exactly what happened when you can recall when West Virginia played Cincinnati last year. West Virginia got up 21 points, I think, in the first quarter, at the very beginning of the second quarter, reminiscent of this game. And what do you know? Emory Jones finally got his act together in the Cincinnati offense. I think that was when they were trying to switch quarterbacks at that point in time. Jones came back into the game and led Cincinnati right down the field for score. Now, West Virginia won that game decisively, 42-21. But one of the very few instances, they lacked that focus the very next week against Baylor on the road. And it was a road game. But that's one of the things that I think drives us fans crazy. And that's what I don't know how critical I can be of a team and an FCS opponent until it manifests later on in the season. And by that point in time, it's too late. It's almost like you want to nip something in the bud before it becomes a problem. So that's why I'm sure there were, and I saw it across Twitter during that second quarter, people were coming for Jordan Leslie's head on the internet. Same with Neil Brown. It was ugly there. I don't know how it was like at the field, but that's what it is. It's like, I think the fan base is like, let's try and be proactive with this situation. You've tried the same scheme for so many years. You've had the same defensive coordinator for so many years. Yes, you've changed faces, changed players, last names, but it's these same pass defense issues and same lack of pressure creation issues. And so before West Virginia goes to Pittsburgh, before Kansas comes to town, before they play Arizona, Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, that let's make some changes now. And you're thinking to yourself, well, hold up, this is an FCS opponent ending up winning this game by 35 points. It's like, that's the conundrum of it. Is it worth overreacting to if this game is more so of a lightning rod jumping off point for West Virginia to get better in this area starting next week? I guarantee you the Pitt has a better passing attack than Albany does. I've watched both of their games now against Kent State and Cincinnati this past week. And Eli Holstein will break him down, can really sling it. And emblematic of it was the opening kickoff, this lack of focus. Traylon Ray, I don't know what he's doing on kickoff. Ball hits him square in the hands. He rubs it off his hands. He's out of the end zone, so he can't kneel on it or hold it to get it out at the 25. He runs it out for 10 yards. West Virginia has to start out its first possession on the 10-yard line. What? It's the opening kickoff. Focus. Clearly. Just field the ball cleanly and run. I thought then and there, I'm shocked that he was on that next offensive possession to start out the series. Was on the kickoff team again. You can't do that. You cannot do that against good opponents. And then, the next series, and I really, really like, but my team kicks the ball out of bounds. Do special teams, little things that, in a nutshell or in a vacuum against this FCS opponent means, when the end result is a 35-point victory. But again, if you let little things boil up here and there and here and here against opponents that you should beat and should play cleanly well against, it's going to come back to bite you. It came back to bite this team, I feel horribly in 2021, 2022, and it seemed as if West Virginia cleaned a lot of those issues up on a lot of things in 2023. So, again, I just don't know if it's a collective focus in these, because you saw that last year against Duquesne too. Duquesne comes out and scores on its first and or second possessions, throwing the ball deep, on Bishop, and then bam, Hudson Clement has that touchdown, and the rest is history. Decisively by double digits. And who's to say that now this performance, or lack thereof, lights a fire under the butt of Garnet Hollis Jr. and he plays like Dean Bishop the rest of the way. I need to buckle up, and they play great. But it's just that 100% focus for 3.5 hours of your time is what I know is so hard with so many people, but specifically the Gen Z generation, to be in it and focus across your 11-man on offense, 11-man on defense, 11 on special teams for 4 quarters. I know that's asking a lot sometimes, and there are tons of distractions, but that is what I felt like I have to say about this performance at the end of the day. Thankfully, there are some positives. I want to get into this. I've already spent 12 minutes on predominantly focus, but one of the things I was super duper happy about was the offensive efficiency. Brown talked about this. Scoring on 7 of its 9 offensive possessions. Albany held the ball, and we're going to talk about that. Limited number of possessions. They went slow. They used a lot of their game clock in between plays. This game really moved. It had the pacing that Penn State really didn't feel how choppy it was all game long. Not a ton of as many penalties of that Penn State game. So it meant that West Virginia was going to have to be focused. There wasn't inefficient. There wasn't an opportunity for them to run as many plays as perhaps they would have liked to. And it was really nice to see that Nico Marchiol got in the fourth quarter, more time than he had against the Duquesne game. Led a good drive, scored on a good read that he should have made instead of trying to throw into coverage and took himself. But talking about Garrett Green specifically, I feel like was our player of the game. Really took over when the game was 21-14. Game on his shoulders. So I'm going to put ran for 40 yards on a touchdown run on the day. 17 of 23, a 72% completion percentage, so above his Big 12 media day goal of 65% for 236 yards and 3 touchdowns. passing with 7 carries for 68 yards in that rushing touchdown that I talked about. So he was awesome. He, just continues to look as if he is the difference maker in West Virginia, playing opponents that are comparable to West Virginia. So if he gets opportunities to run, if he can manipulate around into the pocket, I think he showed he just has a slow heart rate. Slow heartbeat, slow heart rate. It's a tongue twister kind of either. But you saw in this game that we really started to see in the last half of 2023. I think like this game showed where he might have felt a little bit rushed or wanted to play a little bit more slowed down from within the pocket. He didn't have the opportunity because he was getting harassed by Abdul Carter on one side and denied Dennis Sutton on the other side of the Penn State game. The offensive line just did not really have a ton of time to throw, and also the West Virginia wide receivers creating greatest separation. So I think like he was able to take the quarter to half beat that he wanted to stay within the pocket, get his arm, right slot, deliver an accurate ball with a touch. And he did that very well, I felt like, especially on the one completion he had to Ronnie Gallagher. I swear I throw on ELF 25 and gets picked off every single time. But he had one defender on one side. He had the backside defender coming across on Gallagher, and he fitted in right into the hole in between the two of them to hit Gallagher right in the hands. Loved that throw. Loved throwing the touchdown pass to Cole Taylor. Thought that was a beautiful ball. Just much better, much more performance that was expected of Garrett Green. Also, C.J. Donaldson, the Warhammer Braun. He is Thor's Warhammer, 14 carries for 125 yards and a touchdown. That is the kind of C.J. Donaldson that I know and love and know is capable if he gets the opportunities. The offensive line's creating some nice holes for him to run through. He had that burst, got into the second level, and once he's into the second level, you can count him for at least 10 to 20. So he was excellent on the day. James White also, 10 carries for 100 yards and a touchdown. The only reason I have a little bit of hesitation, I feel like, into my voice, that fumble was really the one case of this offense not playing perfect. I felt like on the day. I know Green was hard on himself, same with Brown in the post-game interviews, saying that he needed to make a read or better throw on something. I think would have went for a touchdown in the first half or first down when West Virginia punted. But the White fumble just really, really hurt. I really like James White. Don't get me wrong. This is nothing to say critical against him, but he needs to learn when he's getting swarmed by multiple defenders. And I'm not talking about whenever you're at the line of scrimmage and you're trying to push down for extra yards or even not just past the first down yardage. It's when you're out in the open field into the second level and multiple defenders are coming at you and you don't have your teammates around you in base. They are trying everything in their power. First guy wrap, second guy strip, and third guy gouge his eyes, something like that. They were harassing him on that play. When he got a 30 or 40 yard carry and a 37, I think it was 37 yards before he was finally touched by the would-be tackler. They came in, stripped the ball from him. I'm saying go team, get down, and boom, but he lets all loose. They corral it because there were 3 Albany guys to West Virginia's 1 ball carrier, him being the one stripped, and that was an easy takeaway. So I was at that point in time, going back to the focus. James White having to understand to protect that ball. You're up multiple scores, going out into enemy territory. If I get down here, yes, I know I'm not burning it for a touchdown, but my offense gets it and for another red zone opportunity to go up 20. Maybe that's the thing. That's the thing is, to us as fans, and I'm sure the coaches, and they hear it, it's never enough. And especially what we saw with the defense, it's great to be playing with a multiple score lead, just like the baseball team in their super regional game against North Carolina in those extra innings. You were thinking West Virginia needs to pad its lead here in case North Carolina had to come back on baseball diamond, and they did. But for the football team, we've seen so many. I feel like 2012 just ruined it. 2012 just ruined it, and then also all the wars that were fought in Temple Medic playing in the Big 12, and no lead is ever enough. So what the offense might be saying to itself, well, what are you asking for? Do you want to score on every single drive? That's just not attainable. But it's little things. It's little things like that. Or Day Farmer brought his first would-be career touchdown. Just looked the ball in, maybe was more excited to score and celebrate than he was actually just catching the ball into his hand with no defenders around him. Like that. That's what I mean. I was not really happy with the White fumble at that point in time. After the punt, Albany scores, you fumble, they roll right down the field, and it's like boom, that's the game. I think that's where Gary Green was like, okay, I'm the one who's locked in. I'm going to run it myself, and I take it myself. And that's exactly what he did. So it was a game-breaking play. I thought the line was excellent on the day. My one being, I think, on the Pro Football Focus All-American Team of the Week, or one of the other teams. We saw that on Twitter yesterday. Also thought spreading the ball out. Gary Green did a really good job of this. 10 different pass catchers on the day. We witnessed Justin Robinson's first career touchdown in a Mountaineer uniform. Again, Day Farmer's almost touchdown, him getting involved in the day. I think maybe most importantly of all of this, in addition to just the individual performances, but collectively, a perfect 5 for 5 in the red zone. That's something that Neil Brown and staff talked about all fall camp long, that they were working on that specifically with pretty much every practice that they held. So to be able to go out there and convert that, I know against an FCS opponent, but again, little things will add up and pay dividends over a 12-game season. So to cash in with touchdowns, vitally important. Michael Hayes, even though he's an awesome kicker off the field, he scored touchdowns, and that he did, and didn't decide to go for 2. I think he improved on the fumble enough. I don't necessarily need to go very much more into that beyond what I already have. Let's talk about defensively, and this is where I'm going to be a little bit negative. So bear with me. Again, a 35-point victory shouldn't be that much to be upset about. But when your secondary cannot stop a nosebleed specifically through an entire quarter and going into halftime at what may have been perceived to be a closer 28-14 game than it really was, you have to be frustrated. Garnet Hollis Jr. really took the brunt of it. I think from Neil Brown specifically, and he didn't name necessarily by name at the halftime interview, but you could kind of read between the lines, understand the context that really came down a lot on Garnet Hollis Jr. I didn't think Aiden Garnes performed all that well either. I'm very worried about him if this stage is too big for him, not only in stature at his physical size, but just being able to cover wide receivers of this level. And it shouldn't have been as much of a challenge as it was, again, given that he came from the FCS level and West Virginia's playing an FCS opponent. But I mean, besides Garnet Hollis Jr., besides Garnes, West Virginia tried TJ Crandall. They tried Corey Arnu. I'll actually give credit and kudos to him learning on the fly trial by air, flying a plane while building it. At nickel corners, Rod Gallagher even had pass deflected in this game. I think that his confidence will only grow as he becomes more comfortable in this position. Has the speed, has the skill, has the talent. So I feel like giving him a shot is justified. And also Jacoby Spells in the fourth quarter, maybe. And I think the thought was hold off Jacoby Spells one more game, give him one more week's worth of rest before unleashing him against Pitt in backyard brawls. You could have Hollis Jr. on one side, or rotation of different players to try him out, and Spells on the other side. Because again, I think he's the one cornerback in this defense that I feel like he's ready to go and go out there and prove himself. I really do believe in Jacoby Spells. So if you think anything of my credibility, that I think that West Virginia has kind of not I don't want to say a hero in the midst to come up, but like someone who's going to stop the bleeding, who's going to be able to stop this past defense from just getting thrown all over. It didn't really matter the coverages. It didn't really matter again the players or what kind of play design, short routes, deep. I mean, West Virginia got burned deep. I'm going to back that up in the evidence, the numbers here too. But it just didn't kind of matter who it was or what they were running. That these wide receivers were coming down with catches. So at the end of the day, and I know he took like a hit on the sidelines, had to be medically attended to in the locker room, on the sidelines and in the locker room at halftime. But it comes down to coaching. It really does. When you try as many players as you're trotting out there, in all different shapes and sizes and abilities, it comes down to what you're calling, and it comes down to execution. And I feel as if we can blame these players a lot. And I am one who blame the players more so than I blame the coaching a lot of times, but because the players are the ones who play the game and that's who gets it out on the field. But when you try all that and still nothing's working, and you have, again, FCS players going up and out-dueling FBS players, I don't care if they were 16th ranked in the country at the FCS level. That was a team that only put up 27 points, a week ago against LIU in a dogfight. So I put this on Neil Brown, I put this on Jordan Leslie, I put this on Shadon Brown for why this performance was as it was. And it's only, I feel like, motivation for now, go prove it. Go prove it against Pitt and the rest of the way. Because look, I mean, these numbers, 4 receptions for 90 yards. He had 41-yard long. Jakari Carter, 2 catches, 44 yards and a touchdown. He had 33-yard long. Levi Wentz, 2 catches for 58 yards. He had 49-yard long, the longest of the day. Marquise Deeds, 3 catches for 44 yards, 23-yard long. Caden Birdie, 3 catches for 36 yards with a 20-yard long. And Jackson Parker, 1 catch for 23 yards, so 23-yard long. That's 6 different receivers who had a reception of 20 yards or more. That's unacceptable. Unacceptable. I mean, I get it. That when Daryl Porter and Charles Woods was coming back for 2022, but when that mass exodus of secondary in 2021 happened, it set this roster out of whack in the secondary, specifically at the corner position, but also the secondary. And West Virginia has been trying to make up for it ever since. They've been trying to add these one-year players. In 2022, it didn't work out. 2023, it did work out. Also, large in part because Malachi Ruffin was a 5th, 6th year senior on his COVID year eligibility and performed well as cornerback too. But now you're 3 seasons down the line. You're still relying on, guys, you're bringing in through the transfer portal. Yes, in the case of Garnes, Crandall, extra years of eligibility. But Tarnu, Dantes Fagan, who played okay at times, got called for a couple of pass interferences. Hollis Jr., this cornerback position is just a revolving door. So, I know NIL plays a role in this, and transfer portal, and this, that, and the other thing. But I just hope that it can start to figure itself out. That you get as much as you can. And I don't want to make such a big deal out of this, but by the end of the season, we're talking about as good of a secondary, if not perhaps better, than last year. I know that seems like far off. How can you even say that? There's some people on Twitter, I'm sure, that would laugh at you just by saying that. If you think this defense is any much better than the 2012 Pat Miller-led defense, I'm sure people hearing that will be hearing that and chuckling. But again, it's just so early to tell. It's so early to tell whether West Virginia can turn it around, because again, it had its warts in both the FCS Duquesne game last year and Penn State last year, and Pete Bishop ended up being a player that was that's now playing in the NFL. So can Hollis Jr. turn around? Absolutely. And I feel like once Spells gets healthy, perhaps starting this week, and these other guys start to come along, I think Raheem Joseph is coming along in the secondary. So if you want to spell him more for Anthony Wilson or Aubrey Burks, because I have an idea here. I'm going to come full circle on this with the pass defense. But ultimately, you can't have that kind of a performance and giving up 300 yards passing to Miles Burkett, who could make it at Wisconsin. Numbers. Going into some numbers here, and I had to look this up. Also, that kind of speaks to how this was really a performance. They have to see through the numbers to just understand the deficiencies, especially defensively. 21 all first downs. I went back and looked at how many first downs each opponent, FCS opponent, had against West Virginia going back to 2019. I didn't know if it made much sense to go back past 2019. Different era under new different regime at that point in time. But 21 first downs by Albany. Duquesne had 10 a year ago. 2 years ago, Towson had 11. 3 years ago, LIU had 9. EKU, Eastern Kentucky in 2020 had 9. Now, James Madison in 2019, a team that was right on the cusp of contending as a national contender at that FCS level, and then eventually moving up to Sun Belt G5, had 18. But still, Albany had 21. And they held the ball for 35 minutes. So good coaching by Greg Gattuso to limit those number of possessions, knowing that his defense wasn't going to be able to compete with West Virginia for 4 quarters. And Miles Burkett was risk taking. He was cagey. He was throwing the ball deep, and Gattuso let him. So as long as he could see drives, and they did, by picking up as many first downs as they did, that's the best you could get. Now, where I give a lot of credit to West Virginia defense, I know I feel as if I'm pouring it on them, is that they held Albany to 1 of 4 in the red zone. So credit to them on that. I did not understand that last possession they had in the red zone was like 4th and 1 or something. I know they'd run, I think, on the previous 2 plays, but they throw a fade route and Burkett threw it like almost into the seats. It was like right here. They were driving this way. He throws it like all the way. I was just like, that. He didn't even give your wide receiver a chance on that one, man. It was like little kids shooting a Nerf gun like off into the air kind of thing. I had no idea where he was aiming. So the red zone defense, excellent way that they stepped up whenever they needed to hold Albany to just 14 points on the day. I thought Reed Carrico, excellent. Second straight, we've called out his name on the show. 4 tackles, tackle for loss. And Cutter already having what I feel like will be on the season highlight reel tape at the end of the year on one of his tackles late in the game. I think it was on a 3rd down situation. 5 tackles on the day for Ben Cutter. Excellent, I feel like, in relief. And also TJ Jackson. 2 tackles for loss, and another sack. So now, I guess the injury is Eddie Vesterinen is now out for multiple weeks. I think Neil Brown downplayed it, but who knows how many weeks that will end up pertaining to. Now, I think this is time that Jordan Leslie can do something a little bit different with his defensive line and with his linebacking core, which may end up helping out the pass defense. Now, if you follow my channel, you watched over the offseason where I talked about West Virginia making a schematic defensive philosophy change and how West Virginia was supposedly, but not really, switching to a 3-4 defense. Neil Brown saying, at the end of 2023 and then all the way going through into the spring game, we already were a 3-4 defense, but no, you really weren't. You were just playing Marcus Floyd, up closer into the box, Hershey McLaurin up closer into the box, acting as if that he's a 4th linebacker when really he's a 5th defensive back, and calling it a 3-4. No, I'm talking about a true 3-4 defense. I'm going to pause there. I think that West Virginia may have the bodies to go to a 4-3. Listen to this. If you have Jackson, who, again, looks as if he's West Virginia's best defensive lineman, at his size and stature and ability, can play the same kind of role Eddie Vesterinen can. So, a defensive tackle. I know you don't really want to take Tyron Bradley off the field, but for 2 games, he's not getting any pressure. That bandit, spur, whatever the heck you want to call it, that is not a position, I feel like, of strength. It's just a wasted position. It feels like the way that West Virginia's trying to create pressure from the outside, the outside going outside, it's like. I know you're trying to contain people from getting to the outside, but you're not getting home. If you start Jackson at the defensive tackle, can West Virginia move Tyron Bradley to the defensive end opposite of Martin? So whether you have Mulba at one of your defensive tackles or him and Russell, and flipping T.J. Jackson at one of those interior defensive tackle positions, your end being Sean Martin on one side, who's still trying to figure things out. I know he did a sack in this game, but I'm still kind of like, cussing him out a little bit in the first half, the way the effort I felt like that he was giving. And then on the opposite side, Tyron Bradley. So you have 4 down line, and you can get Reed Carrico on the field as a 3rd linebacker. Because I really don't want to take Josiah Trotter out, and Trey Lathan still, if he's still trying to figure out that knee, still trying to create that same kind of energy get off that he had from 2023. I don't really want to mess with Trey Lathan just yet. But you put Tyron Bradley down on the line, put some beef on the defensive lineman, send your dog straight forward. I think that's going to be a key. I don't want to jump ahead already talking about the pit game, but I've watched enough already of Eli Holstein to see that he likes to step up in the pocket. He doesn't do a lot of lateral running outside the pocket, rolling out kind of that way. He likes to be one just like Drew Aller, who steps up in the pocket. If he doesn't see someone open, he's going to run in between the hash marks. Someone who's going to go up in between his line and go forward. So if you can create pressure with those 4 down linemen coming at him into the A and B gaps, I think West Virginia's going to have success. I think between Carrico, I think between Trotter, and I think between Lathan, that they can cover this middle of the field. And if West Virginia is so worried, Neil Brown and Jordan Leslie are so worried about the number of linebackers that they have that are capable to be able to do the jobs, you're not necessarily changing it. And if you want to rotate Tyron Bradley back into the full linebacker, that's fine, because I really do think that Sonny Redwood, and I like what Sonny Redwood was getting some kudos from Neil Brown in the post-game press conference, because we talked about how many snaps that he was able to get in game 1 against Penn State, was also being heavily involved in this game against Albany. So if you feel a little bit more comfortable where you're at with defensive line depth, despite the injury to Vesterinen, and move Bradley down. I know, 255, 260, he's definitely lighter than Vesterinen, Mulba, and Martin, and even Jackson, but he's just a big, strong body guy who I feel like can do both. If you put him on the weak side, if you put him on the weak side and ask him to rush the passer, I think he can do a good enough job of getting out to the edge if he needs to, because he's being trained that way into that spur bandit position. He can also rush the passer from that end. And then Pat French can come off the bench and, his pass rushing specialist kind of role, even though he's been very quiet to start this year, and you're not whittling down the depth of the linebacking core. But maybe with an added 4th body on the defensive line being Tyron Bradley, that you'll get enough pressure that's going to help out everybody tenfold on that end. Now, I know that takes another defensive back off the field, and at this point in time, West Virginia feels it needs 10 defensive backs on the field to cover the field. But if it's a bounce back week by Garnett Hollis Jr., it's finally get Jacoby Spells onto the field. You trust Burks, you trust Wilson, and Jaheim Joseph can play in different positions. Montez can step up a little bit, so maybe he's like your 3rd cornerback right now. Take Aiden Lawrence, take Cortarnio off the field, let TJ Crandall continue to come along, play by the other in spurts, and if you drop back into coverage a little bit more with your linebacking core, defend pass deep with these defensive backs, and let these 4 guys, I'm talking Jackson, I'm talking Martin, I'm talking Mulba, and I'm talking Bradley, eat on the defensive line. So consistently saying 4 pass rushers that way, it's going to throw a unique lookout. I feel like that defenses haven't seen out of West Virginia. They haven't seen a 4 down front. That often, I feel like, under Jordan Leslie, definitely not under Tony Gibson, even going back as far as Jeff Steele, but I feel like it's worth their eye. Because just the way that we're seeing, the way things worked out against Albany this past week, that if you continue to do this, that's the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So I feel like it's worth a try. Maybe. Or maybe I'm wrong. They're going to do the same things they've always done, and we're going to be back here in this position talking about this same thing. And Eli Holstein and Jalen Daniels and Avery Johnson and the kid from Oklahoma State, whose name escapes me at the top of my head, like Alan Bowman, are just going to keep throwing on West Virginia, and we'll go from there. So it's I feel as if like if you want to hit your head against the wall watching West Virginia defense, sometimes I'm with you, and I just feel as if like West Virginia's going to have to fight fire with fire. I talked about that with the preseason predictions, that it's going to be high-scoring affairs, that we're never going to be able to that West Virginia cannot afford to rest on their laurels, and that's another thing. And I was going to make this kind of like a separate video over the summer, but I think plays with this team, so I can get it off my chest now and move on. Again, we're talking about a 35-point victory here, so maybe I'm way too much lathering this on. But the message from Charles Wesley Godwin, I really like Charles Wesley Godwin. I think he's a great ambassador for West Virginia, WVU specifically, the football team, everything that he does, he's awesome. I'm liking some of his music too. I'm more like to know him. His message last year was 14, 14, 14, 14. Putting it into these players' face, and whether I don't know how much that was put on for show or for effect or for social media, so on and so forth. But then his message this year was, I'm not going to come at you all with 14 and do all this. I just want to tell you how proud we are and all that jazz. Give me half that. Split the difference and give it to me that way, because this West Virginia team has truly achieved very little. I know it's won 2 bowl games in the 5 year era of Neil Brown, but if that was one of the things against, I don't know how it could be. People were criticizing, listening to some recap shows across YouTube of West Virginia was making too much out of the Penn State game, celebrating it too much. No way. All of that, as I said in recapping Penn State, is good for West Virginia. It's good for the brand of the program, national publicity, recruiting, all and so forth. I have nothing against making a game. Heck, I'm one who wants to make the spring game like an in-state fair between West Virginia and Marshall. I talked about that in April. I want it to be more. I didn't want West Virginia, and I feel like this was the case, was intimidated. I think West Virginia saw that blue and white jerseys, the logo on the helmet and the chest, the name on the scoreboard, and they were intimidated. I don't know how you can't watch that game and don't come away with that, thinking that West Virginia, I don't know why, doesn't, and the same could be said last year against Oklahoma, same could be said last year against Penn State. I don't know why, as if there's this fear, because West Virginia did that so well for so long. I feel like, especially during the heydays of the mid-2000s, it didn't matter whether it was Georgia or Auburn or Mississippi State. West Virginia was going to take you on and take names. They're going to take heads and take names. Pat White and Steve Slayton. Maybe crowd the talent. And I don't know why now that West Virginia feels intimidated to play those guys. Because that's the way that I play, and that's what I can't stand. That's what I can't accept. That's what I can't stand for. You got to go out there and hit them twice as hard as you're going to hit Cincinnati, twice as hard as you're going to hit Baylor, twice as hard as you're going to hit TCU. Do it. That was your chance to do it, and they did it. So I'm not trying to pound this too much, but I feel as if Charles Wesley Godwin's message should be, we are proud of you, we believe in you, now go out there and prove us right. It's not about necessarily proving the doubters wrong. They didn't believe. That's one of my favorite quotes ultimately by Drew Brees. Don't care about proving the doubters wrong. They never believed in you in the first part. It's now about proving the people who believe in you right. And West Virginia, so on and so forth, is not doing anything, I feel like, over these last 2 weeks to have us. And it's to the point as if, people who are, I don't know, not casuals, I wouldn't say hardcore fans, I don't know. But there's a lot of people who I feel like are doubting this backyard brawl matchup. Vegas included, a lot more than they were just 10 days ago. I don't know how it can be that quick. You're all like, okay, West Virginia might be a pretender, not necessarily a contender. Shouldn't be thinking of Big 12 championship as our team goal. How can it change that quickly? Is that the kind of world that we live in anymore? Did social media just ruin it to that point in time? I just think that should not focus. That's the themes of today's video. What did we learn, Carson? Focus. Focus is very important for all 60 minutes. Not just the 60 minutes of the game clock, but beyond everything that's involved with it. Focus in. There is never a lead that is enough. That you have to have multiple scores, step on the opponent's throat, and push down. Because that's what everyone's coming for you. So that's what you have to be proactive and do to your opponent and not let up. There's no moral high ground the teams stand on in college football. Penn State proved that with 2023. It does not matter about running up the score. To the victor, go to the history books. So no need to be afraid of in a court of public opinion about whether you're running up the score and being arrogant and all that jazz. Just go out there and score points, baby. Score points. Protect the ball, Gene White. And then defensively, I'm willing to give a little bit more time to this defense to figure it out. But I think there is a way forward. They could try something radical by putting Tyron Bradley down next to TJ Jackson, get Reed Carrick on the field as your third linebacker. So I've thrown a lot at him. Am I too harsh? Am I not harsh enough? Where do you think I'm right? Where do you think I'm wrong? Love to hear your comments here on YouTube. If you like this video, please hit that like button so that more WVU fans around YouTube can hear my message. I know that I'm one of many voices out there on WVU football, WVU sports. So, just having I'm small, but I feel like mighty in a way because I really appreciate all the feedback that I hear from you all. I'm very thankful that just in over a year's time that I'm up over 300 subscribers. So I can't thank you enough. Thank you for listening to me rant and pour these thoughts out of my head, because if I didn't have you all to talk to about this, they would stay up in my head sometimes. And so I know I'm a little bit crazy with it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to have you as a subscriber to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back later this week talking about more stuff related to the backyard brawl and lead up to this next edition in 2024. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog that I do this each and every week, and I have a lot of fun doing it. Hail West Virginia. Let's go.